So hit it.
Hello and welcome to This is the Play Sports, the podcast. It's I tell you what it is. It's summer. It's where I'm feeling a little toasty here in beautiful Centerville, Utah today.
Yeah, the Facer Mansion. We had our air conditioner go out, so we are getting it from the elements pretty good.
We really are, and I think this is a good time to mention that people who do podcasts in their basement in no air conditioning are really heroes in a lot of ways, because we're pushing through the pain to bring this to our audience.
Love, so tell your friends, listen, and let's get the audience growing on this thing.
Yeah, so last week we talked about, we talked in wake of the Rudy Gobert trade. The Jazz have not yet made another trade, but it seems one is pending and is right around the corner. So that brings us to our first quarter topic. Reports are indicating that Donovan Mitchell may be part of a trade that the Jazz are engaged with a certain club called the New York Knickerbockers. I don't think that destination for Mitchell comes as a surprise to anybody. Would you agree?
No, it's kind of weird because a guy that, you send a guy to the team he wants to go to. I don't think Rudy Gobert was begging to go to Minnesota, and I don't know if Donovan's been begging to go to New York, but he's made it quite obvious that's home. That's where he's been all summer. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens because the asking price is quite high. And if Ainge is able to get 6 first-round draft picks and 3 or 4 players for Donovan, I think you push the yes button and go for it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm trying to find the proposed players that were in that trade. I know our good friend Tony Jones has reported on this. Unfortunately, my Athletics subscription's expired anyway. I know guys like Emmanuel Quickie have been involved in that trade. Obi Toppin, you wrote it down. Sweet.
Of course, I do my homework.
Look at you. Those are probably the 2 biggest names. The other guys on there, I'm not even really sure if they're going to be contributors for anybody, much less the Jazz, who should be really bad next year, or the Knicks as of late. So,
well, there was rumors that that R.J. Barrett would be in the deal, that Utah wanted him, but I believe he's due for a max contract after this season, and I don't know if Danny Ainge wanted to take that on.
No, I don't think so. I think they're really setting themselves up for not this season, but the season afterwards. If you look at the picks they're accruing, the cap space, the guys they'll have coming off the books, they have no interest in really being. It seems silly to use the word contender because they're going to be far from it, but they're going full tank mode for this upcoming season, and I kind of am excited. I mean, I think this is it's what the Jazz needed. They need to hit a complete reset. It seems like they're getting a big return for their biggest assets. They're going to eat crap for a year, maybe 2. But
which is never good.
No, you never want to eat crap at all, really. But so I think that'll be a little hard for the fans to stomach for a bit. But pretty soon they're going to find themselves with like a really interesting slew of assets that they can either trade to get good really quickly, or maybe even have a very high draft pick to get a generational talent. So I think it's a really good thing what the Jazz are doing right now.
I grew up in the era when the Jazz moved to Utah. Remember the likes of Gentle Ben Poquette and Alan Bristow and the boys, and
no idea who either of those.
They were fun
to
go watch at the Salt Palace, and
the convention center.
Yeah, it's now a convention. It used to be an arena, and it was kind of fun to go to. Smelled like pot, but it was a good place to go. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens because those teams were kind of gritty, and they'd win 24, 25 games, and if they beat the Boston Celtics or the Lakers once during the season, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And we may be getting back to those days, and it'll be interesting to see how this new fandom of the Utah Jazz reacts to that.
They're going to be mad because if they were upset about those horrible remix uniforms, they're going to be even more upset about how poorly the team plays in them. But again, I think you have to understand, like this kind of thing, this tanking mentality works, and it's really kind of the only solution for a team like Utah to get better because they're never going to be a free agent destination. Trades have always been tricky to bring in players who are in the prime of their career. You really have to strike while these guys are young on their first or second contracts, try to build a good nucleus that way with veteran support players around them. And I think that's the only path the Jazz have to getting to that elusive championship. And I think that the tank method is the only way to do it. We've seen teams like the Philadelphia 76ers have obviously been one of the more notable teams to take this approach. I think we're seeing Oklahoma City is probably going to start to turn the corner on that approach. They've been working on it for a while. Danny Ainge, I guess you could make the argument he did that in Boston when he traded Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and I think Jason Terry, who actually is going to be a
Ray
Jazz
Allen.
assistant coach. Ray Allen as well, yeah. So
no, it's going to be an interesting time. And like I said, there also is the theory that the Jazz had everything in place, but Mike Conley was a big disappointment as that number 3.
I think taking a critical lens to the last couple of years, I think that trade should be looked at a little bit more unfavorably than how people reacted initially. I don't think it did a lot for the Jazz.
Granted, it's just a theory.
It's a good one. It's an interesting one, though, right? So moving along, I mean, that puts us in our discussion here in the second quarter where the Jazz are going to land in the NBA's Western Conference. I tend to believe that they're going to finish dead last or close to dead last because not only are they clearly much worse roster-wise, but many teams have passed them now in the standings. What's your thoughts on that?
I think many teams passed them maybe before they even traded Rudy. There were some up-and-coming teams. Denver's going to be back at full strength this year. Memphis obviously has proven to be a great team. Golden State, Phoenix. You can go down the list there and just reel off the teams. New Orleans, there's high expectations there. The Clippers have Kawhi back.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say don't count the Lakers out. I will go on the record and count the Lakers out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have the supporting cast to help the two.
I don't see how bringing in crazy Kyrie Irving would solve all the problems that they have, considering he might just up and leave for a month or maybe just get bored and retire. I think the Lakers are a team that I don't think you can expect to see a lot. I think they probably are pretty locked in salary-wise in a pretty tough situation. But no, I think you're completely right. Just glancing here at the Western Conference standings from last year, Utah obviously finished 5th. Of course, we all know that because they lost to the 4th-seeded Mavericks in the first round of the playoffs. So I think you can count on Dallas continuing to be better. Denver's going to be better, like you said. Minnesota is likely much better. I think they're going to do a really interesting thing, moving Cat to more of a power forward position, a stretch 4, letting Gobert patrol the paint. I think that's something Karl-Anthony Towns has never really been particularly good, being a rim defender, but he doesn't have to do it now. They got the best guy in the world at that. The Pelicans should be better if Zion is as ready as they say he is. Clippers, San Antonio, they'll be better than the Jazz, I'll say, but
they traded their best player away too.
Yeah, DeJounte Murray. Portland, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. We keep waiting for the shoe to fall there and for Dame to demand his way out, but he continues to sign these huge contract extensions with them. Who did they acquired someone big? Didn't they? They got was it Jeremy Grant they acquired?
Yes.
So they should be better. I think this is a year we see Oklahoma City take off a little bit. The list of teams that I see the Jazz being better than are pretty small. I think maybe 1 or 2 in the Western Conference.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's really going to depend on what Utah gets back from Mitchell and if they sign any free agents, which is a possibility. I mean, on paper now, it looks like Mike Conley's the guy.
And I think they're shopping him. I think they're shopping Bojan Bogdanovic.
Yeah, it's Bogdanovic and Conley now, and I don't think those two can carry a team.
And I think they're going to maybe talk about trying to get something back for Jordan Clarkson as well. So
and Clarkson would probably have to move in the starting lineup, probably.
Yeah.
They'll be somewhat competitive, but the supporting cast, you get to the bench and that.
Oh, it'll be rough.
Anybody, but it's going to be a tough haul in the Western Conference, and I was getting back to the Lakers even, they may have to trade Anthony Davis in order to get some assets, maybe trade him for a couple of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So they have 2 or 3 players to play with LeBron. But, every time you count LeBron out, he had the big game of the Drew League the other night.
Yeah.
And he can still play, and he's pushing 40 years old, isn't he?
Like 37 or something. Yeah, he's a
That's
freak.
old.
Yeah, really old. Yeah. Is he old enough to be my brother? I don't know. Anyway, we'll have to do the math on that later. But yeah, it's
Your much older brother.
right. Because I just turned 30. Everybody, did you know that?
Happy birthday! Send money.
Please. Anyway, let's see. I don't know. There's not too much else to say about that. Let's hit the buzzer. Wait for it to go for a couple seconds. Take this time to think about the bees. We love the bees. One kind act a day. Campaign my advertising agency has been working on. Make sure you guys do that. Let's take a halftime break. Halftime today is brought to you by Fizz Drinks at Station Park. They're very good.
Get on our website, Fizz Owners, and buy an ad, would you?
That Fizz is Fizztastic.
We dropped some coin there today, so come on now.
About $9. So
payback.
Okay, bring it on. Moving on, let's get back to it. Third quarter here. What were we going to talk about third quarter? We're going to talk about Major League Baseball, right?
We're going to talk about C.J. Cron making the All-Star team.
Yeah.
We have a first University of Utah player ever to make it to a Major League All-Star game, and it's pretty exciting. He's having a heck of a year for the Rockies.
Yeah, we were just looking at his stats. He's in his 9th Major League season. I think he and a lot of other Major League teams had kind of thought he was near the end of his rope, because he signed kind of a smaller one-year deal with the Rockies, I believe. He previously had a deal with Minnesota, I think maybe Detroit. No, I think it was definitely Minnesota. But he was kind of near the end of his run, and he's now having the year of his life. He's batting like .295. He's got 21 home runs. The Rockies, kind of an exciting team. He's doing well. Chris Bryant's on that team.
If you're a power hitter, it's nice to play at the Mile High.
Yeah, the thin air definitely helps.
In Colorado, and that seems to be a perfect fit for C.J. Cron and his abilities. And it's kind of interesting because, he went to the University of Utah, holds the record for batting average there, and is the only first-round draft pick ever from the University of Utah. He went 17th overall to the Angels.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Went up the Angels system, and you did an internship with the Bees, but he actually played for the Bees for parts of 4 seasons, right?
That's true. Our time with the Bees did not overlap, and it's notable to mention he got a call up to the big leagues, whereas I did not. Not bitter about that at all.
Not at all.
Yeah. But, yes, he played parts of, I think, 4 seasons is what we counted. That had to have been great for CJ to be back in a community he knew. Obviously, he's got a lot of fans here in Utah. I know you were mentioning to me when he got drafted in 2011, you actually were able to give him a phone call, do an interview. What was his excitement like then?
He was just pumped. He was at home in Arizona, and with family and friends, and he was as excited as could be. And I think he really liked the prospect of being drafted by the Angels, and then the opportunity to return to Salt Lake, because you know who else plays at Smith's Ballfield besides the Bees?
No, who?
The Utes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So
it's a familiar stadium for him, and I think he liked it. But he wanted to get to the major leagues and show what he can do, and I think he's in a great situation. I don't think he could ask for better. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockies offer him a longer contract, obviously, at season's end, and he gets paid very well. I mean, some of these baseball salaries are incredible.
Yeah, how would you like to turn down $440 million if you're Juan Soto?
Yeah, and speaking of which, there's a rumor that he might join our beloved Mariners.
Yes, I saw that rumor on a post by The Athletic. They're saying the Mariners have like a good slew of prospects, have a pretty decent payroll right now. They could probably make a pretty decent package for him.
$440 million?
Well, here's my take. The Mariners right now are in the midst of a 13-game winning streak. Do they dare interrupt whatever's going well for them?
I would say no, because we've waited a long time, and we actually uttered the conversation of, what if they make it to the World Series?
We'd have to go. Yeah, we got to go. Yeah.
So, they need to get to the playoffs first.
Mother thinks that's funny for some reason. We're going, Mom. We're going to Seattle. We're going to stay.
Us the credit
we're
card
going to stay
right
at the
now.
Ritz-Carlton downtown. We're going to eat a steak at the Metropolitan Grill, which is one of the best steakhouses in Seattle. Canlis is one of the best seafood restaurants on the Western
Ivers
Seaboard.
is the best.
Well, Ivers is good for lunch, but we'll do dinner at Canlis. And we'll have a great time there at the World Series. So,
well, let's talk about another B real quick. Mike Trout.
Everybody's favorite B, right?
Former B, played 20 games. Everyone acts like he was here for years and years, but he was here for a short time. But he pulled out of the All-Star game because of back spasms. What do you think? I mean, he missed a lot of time last year with an injury, and he seems to be bothered by his back this year. Is he one of those guys that's going to fight injuries the rest of his career?
You hope not, but you figure the weight of an entire franchise probably weighs on him a little bit in a literal sense, in a figurative sense. But I hope not. I think it was either last season or the year before he had like one of the first major injuries he's ever had. It was some kind of was it like a hamstring or something where he missed. He was on the 60-day
yeah.
He was on like the 68-day DL for the first time in his career. I mean, he's played for this is his 11th season in the major leagues, and he's played at an extremely high level.
For a horrible team.
And eventually, the body just goes. And guys like LeBron James are such a marvel in the sporting world that they've been able to stay healthy. And it would be a shame if Trout's production started to dip. It's a shame he's not going to play in the All-Star game in L.A., kind of his hometown, although Los Angeles Angels don't really play in Los Angeles. But,
it's amazing that franchise is bad again because with Ohtani and Trout, I mean, then they've got some other sluggers there, and you've seen some guys come through Salt Lake that are making contributions, but for some reason they just can't put it together.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But let's jump to the fourth quarter now, Ost, and we're going to talk about the Utes and the Pac-12 and college realignment. Not much happened this week.
Nope.
But speculation continues to grow.
Yeah, I think as you were explaining to me, you being a college football expert,
that's me.
The thing everybody's kind of hinging the next move on is what happens with Notre Dame, because, I mean, that's how crazy college football has gotten, to the point where even Notre Dame has acknowledged that the independent platform isn't sustainable, and they would be much better off in a conference setting. I think that might be a little crass for some people to think about, see Notre Dame wearing a conference logo on their uniforms, but that's the reality of the situation. Wherever they end up, likely I would imagine they'll have a good bidding war, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up in the Big Ten, which is kind of their neck of the woods. I think wherever they fall, I think that'll set whatever happens next.
Yeah, it'll happen. You remember the last time Notre Dame went to the college football playoff, they actually spent the season in the ACC.
Oh, that's right.
And went in as ACC champs. So independence, once again, was proven not to be the path to get there. And with this new setup, it almost looks like every year we're going to have the SEC champ play the Big Ten champ for the national championship. And I don't know if there'll even be a playoff. And I don't know what that means to the Big 12 or the Pac-12. Again, it's speculation. Maybe lawmakers will force them to open up a playoff. And if it does, I would hope it's at least 8 teams.
Right.
And I hope that there's a fair and equitable way to do that. But you've got to admit, especially if Clemson ends up in the SEC, all the power teams in that league, they would deserve 4,
at least
5 teams, and you could make the same argument as the Big Ten. But the Pac-12 is interesting because I think it's very precarious right now. Because if Washington and Oregon were invited to the Big Ten tomorrow, I think they'd leave in a second.
Yeah, you were describing the difference in money in terms of the TV rights is incredibly pronounced.
What they say that the Pac-12 money would have to be like 6 times what it is now, just to be half of what the Big Ten teams are getting.
And you can't imagine after losing the LA markets, they could command a raise like that.
6 times, yeah, they couldn't. And then if you lose Oregon and Washington, arguably the 2 best teams left in the league. Besides Utah, obviously, because Utah's the defending champs. Let's don't forget that. But it's going to make.
So what you're saying, what I'm hearing is you don't think the hypothetical addition of Boise State and San Diego State would give the Pac-12 TV rights a 6-time raise.
No, it won't give the 6-time raise. It might stop the bleeding a little bit, just because I don't think they could stand pat because I think they're nervous beyond belief about Washington and Oregon. And then there's always rumors that Notre Dame would join if Stanford would join because they want a like-minded institution in there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you lost Stanford, Oregon, and Washington, then you're down to 7 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And does Utah want to be in that? Then the answer seems to be a merger between the Big 12 and the Pac-12. And, that would provide a little comfort. It'd sure be nice if Utah and BYU were in the same conference again and the last game of the season meant something.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping comes out of this. And I mentioned this on the radio there in Tulsa, Oklahoma this week. The good folks there at the Blitz were nice enough to invite me on for some reason. But it was
the beard.
They like the beard, and they thought that would play well on radio in Oklahoma for some reason. But I think like that would be the best case scenario if after all this jumbling, after all this turmoil, all this uncertainty, if when the dust settles, we can have those BYU Utah games just on the books every year. Don't have to worry about dedicating a non-conference slot to it, and like you said, it meaning something and being played on a national audience in a big way. I think it really makes a lot of sense for Utah to maybe be looking at the Big 12, as I was explaining, because I mean we know there's an East Coast West Coast bias in college football, and I think it would be really beneficial for Utah, a team that's emerging as a really kind of a powerhouse program, to get more cachet in Texas, in Oklahoma, to move towards that side of the country, rather than standing pat in a lesser conference, what will be a lesser conference here on the west side of the United States.
Well, that's a good point. Morgan Scally has done a really good job recruiting Texas. So
they've always done well in Texas, yeah.
And it's going to be interesting, though, because one of the reasons they got a lot of good players from Los Angeles was because they played the LA schools every year, one at home and one away. So that'll be interesting to watch, because is that recruiting pipeline going to dry up?
You just find a way back. Schedule San Diego State non-conference if you have to.
I don't know if you can get the LA kids, though, like you used to be able to get them.
Probably not in the same way. I don't know. But
Purdue could come in and say, hey, we play at USC every year.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, it'll be different.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to our parting shots. I think you had a good one. Tell me what's your party shot this week?
Well, I just wanted to give a shout out to Eric Weddle and congratulate him on going in the Utah Athletics Hall of Fame. I had the opportunity to cover him during his career at Utah. I still remember that first time I interviewed him. I think it was the first day of practice, and he said he was kind of angry that USC and UCLA didn't recruit him. He's from San Diego,
Mm-hmm.
and they said he was too small and couldn't play.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm going to show him, basically, and he showed him.
In a big way.
And then Shona Thorburn, who was on that Utah basketball team that went to the Elite Eight and almost made it to the Final Four back in, I think it was 2006, is also going in, and some others. So congratulations to everybody going in the Utah Sports Hall of Fame, and a special shout-out to Super Bowl champion Eric Weddle.
Yeah. When I did my internship with the Chargers a few years ago, I think it was the year after he left to play for Baltimore. And, obviously he had his falling out with the Spanos family, with the other members of the high-level management there in San Diego. But everybody else who had worked with the team, the support staff, everybody, they all just said they loved Eric. They thought he was just a great guy to have in the building there. And he's a fun guy. I think everybody likes seeing what he's up to, and he's always been a really good representative of Utah and the program there.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good to the program. He gives back. I remember he came to the spring game one year and went into the game without any pads on.
Oh, he's hilarious.
And he's running the football, and he's got 11 guys in full pads chasing him. And I could just see if the Chargers saw a film of that, they would just freak out.
Oh, yeah.
But he liked that, and he's just a good guy, and he's well deserving of that honor by the University of Utah. He's also on the ballot, along with Alex Smith, I believe, to get on in the college football hall.
Put him in.
And so it'll be interesting to see if they're I think they're first ballot guys this time. I hope Alex Smith gets in, because what he did for Utah that year was fantastic.
Yeah, I think he's earned a lot of goodwill with the end of his NFL career as well. So let's get my parting shot. Is a little shout out to like myself, a Viewmont High School legend, someone who probably should have his name on the water tower here in Centerville, if we had a water tower.
If we had one.
Yeah. Good old Alex Jensen, whose number is enshrined in the Viewmont High School gymnasium. I believe he and Lori Salvo's daughter are the only ones that have Ariel, that's right. But yeah, it seems like he's going to be staying on board, being a part of Will Hardy's staff for the Utah Jazz, and I think that's huge for the Jazz. I could see how he might feel a little jilted after, serving so much time, with that team and being a finalist in the interview process and ultimately not getting the job. How maybe he might be looking for somewhere else to share his expertise, but it seems like he's going to be staying on the staff. I don't think he's going to be the lead assistant is what we've seen, but that might change. But I think it's just huge to have a guy like Alex Jensen still on the bench there. If you ever got the chance to go early to a Jazz game, you would see he and Rudy Gobert spent a lot of time working one-on-one together. They were constantly watching film on his laptop before games, and they were working out together. So I think he deserves a big round of applause for his role in Rudy's development into an elite NBA player. And it's just good to see another Viewmont guy make it. I think there should be more of us. This is all tongue in cheek, by the way, folks. And
let me ask you. Maybe they could call Minnesota and get another draft pick for Alex.
Sure. Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
It'd be wise to keep him. Now he's a good guy. And then just as a note, his mother babysat you once. So.
Yep. I've heard that. Yep. I have no recollection of this, but yeah, that's what I've heard. And obviously he and his brother Andy, also another Viewmont legend. I think Andy actually taught math at Viewmont while I was there. But yeah, those guys are just Davis County icons, and it's good to see them staying in the state and staying in a visible role.
Well, and I had just hoped that with that one babysitting thing that enough good things would flow that would get you on the basketball team.
Didn't work. Yeah,
played hockey instead.
I think it was my genetics that held me back more than anything. So
I'm a ward ball hero.
Yep.
Just ask anybody I played with.
Right. Well, that wraps up the show for today. You are a ward ball hero, by the way. I do.
Exactly. Let's remind folks that we're remodeling the website. We should have it up and going pretty soon, but you can get on there now and register for prizes. Starting next week, we're going to bring back the Wheel of Fortune.
So go to the website. It'll have like a under construction sign on it right now. But still, the little icon in the right-hand corner that has like the letter on it, that's the email form. I'm going to fix that up in a little bit, but go ahead and hit that. Throw your info in there. Obviously, we're not going to bug you in anything. That's just for this, so you can win a prize or whatever. So,
and let's mention that the prizes this year are going to be some things maybe that we bought on clearance, and they might be some things from my goodie bag during my years as a sports writer when they gave something away. I tended to load my bag with them. So
I remember the Mountain West Conference football meetings. They gave away those mini football helmets like in a pack, and I think we probably took 20 packs of those football helmets.
No one said we couldn't.
Yeah.
Let's get the record straight. There was no stealing involved.
Right.
They were just there for the taking, but
we outfitted all of our stuffed animals in those.
We'll have some.
They
would
have been perfect for probably those Thai Beanie Babies. Yeah,
we'll have some fun stuff to give away, and then we encourage you to listen to the podcast and the website. We got some exciting things planned, and we're just trying to get back on our feet here and get healthy and strong and kick some butt again. So thank you for listening, and
this is the place.
Good job.
Thank you. Later.